What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another Invincible Guarding the Globe video. I hope to get some more out for you guys soon. Maybe some tutorials, some beginner, intermediate, and late game guides. I think that'd be really fun. I'm having fun making these videos. I got with the people of Discord and Reddit to help make you guys as accurate of a tier list video as possible because, man, have I seen all these things popping up. Hey, what's the best team? Hey, is there an updated tier list guide? Hey, what character should I swap out? Well, hopefully these answer some of those questions for you. As always, this is my opinion, and, I've collected as much data as I can, but this is not gospel truth, so I just hope that this steers you in the right direction. I know a lot of new players are kind of in the early game just building characters, and a lot of it just comes down to what can you build, and as you get the luxury of kind of picking and choosing more, you can steer towards these characters, but remember, have fun with the game. It's just a game. None of this is competitive in any way. It's a very casual game, and this is a very long-term game. So when you plan to build characters, it's going to take months and months and months to get them where you want to be. So don't be in any hurry. Don't be in any rush. With that said, let's pull up our little tier list here. I want to start with rares, and before we start the tier list, I want to mention that this is specifically for arena PvP. And I stress that because there is plenty of uses for these characters, especially the ones that I'll put on the lower tiers, that are very good for GTA ops. And I'm not telling you by this tier list to not build those characters. I'm simply saying for your top 5, the characters you were throwing into arena constantly to win your battles, this tier list is going to help guide those choices. So obviously right off the bat, you already know the rare characters, as fun as they are, they're really a late game thing to build. You don't really have the option of using them. You kind of need them as food in the early game. So this may not apply to you guys. So I went ahead and just going to separate the rares from the elites, if that's okay. So we're going to start with the rare characters. And of course, once again, this is my opinion, and we're going PvP specific. Now, the introduction of Alliance Warfare has really opened a lot of people's eyes to the new dynamics, the way that the characters interact, and maybe some arena battles that we wouldn't otherwise have. So we're going to start off right here with Tether Tyrant. He is not good for almost anything, I will say, but remember, we are specifically saying PvP. I'm going to have to put him probably in the C tier. He doesn't particularly shine in any way. His skills are not particularly good, and I won't have time to go over every specific skill of every character. I will kind of just gloss over the highlights that makes them good and the highlights that kind of make them bad, if that makes sense. So just keep that in mind. We're not going to have a full detailed guide until maybe a beginner intermediate guide or a dedicated video just on heroes and their skills. Isotope, he's pretty cool. He can teleport characters as they attack him every so often. Pretty gimmicky. He's a ranged character. You could kind of place him wherever. I'd probably put him slightly above Tether Tyrant. I mean, at least he's ranged, but not real effective. Aquarius has a pretty cool ability to dispel shields. His ranged attack's pretty good. His ranged attack hits everybody. I know people would be pretty upset if I don't put him pretty far up there. I'll put him in A tier. Magmaniac, pretty good attacker. He's pretty ranged. I would be tempted to put him in S. I know there's many people that will. Even in the late game, I don't know that I'm going to be building Magmaniac. That's just my personal preference. Once again, I just don't see him being a particularly awesome character. Kursk, someone that many people have built. I believe in the top 100, we have a level 2000 or something Kursk. And not that top 100 is always the thing to base off, what's the best characters, but certainly sometimes the things they build are probably decent or at least usable. I'm going to have to put him in S tier. He's very good for GTA ops, but in PvP, he's okay, but his attacks are very fast. That makes him a decent attacker. Black Samson, he's tough. I would probably put him in... His shield ability that he pops to kind of push enemies away is pretty effective. Maybe the highest of B tier. Could be A, that's up to your guys' opinion, but I'm going to stick him in B personally. We're not going to even use the D tier for characters because there's no reason to separate them, at least the rares. We will for the elites. Darkwing 2. I have recently learned that Darkwing 2 is pretty good, and with his ability scaled up, he actually does a lot of damage. So he is going to have to fall into the S tier category. He's also an attacker, and just by nature, a lot of the attackers are probably going to be in the higher tiers because they're a lot more useful to the teams than many of the other, rare characters and some of the other elites. Supports are great, tanks are great. You need far less of them in your team than you do attackers. So typically the attackers are just going to rise to the top anyways. Doesn't mean the characters are bad, right? Martian Man, he's pretty awful. I don't think anyone's mad with him going in C tier. If there's an argument for B tier, feel free to let me know down in the comments. Rexplode. Now, this is a character that a lot of people have been building since his case file. He's obviously very good for GTA Ops, but how does he do in PvP? Well, he's actually pretty darn good, with the exception of, right now, his ult is pretty freaking bugged, which does suck. He's going to be S. He's probably the best rare character you guys can build. He's the first rare character I built. I waited a very long time, like 10, 11 months into the game before I started building him. Obviously, you guys can build him whatever at your pace, but personally, if you're going to build a rare, it's going to be Rex, it's going to be Darkwing, or Kurt, in my opinion so far. Definitely, these are useful for GTA Ops, but we're talking PvP, we're talking, Arena and Multiverse Arena. So, Alliance Warfare's really shown these characters to shine. Damien Darkblood. Now, I know that there are some diehard Damien Darkblood fans, and they would be pretty upset if I don't put him in S tier. He probably belongs in A tier, perhaps even B tier. I think that he's properly placed here. For the sake of memes, and because it doesn't really matter, we're going to put him in S tier. Kid Omni-Man also got a case file recently, pretty decent, just doesn't do the damage. Also, what holds him back is the fact that he just kind of targets whoever he wants sometimes throughout the battle. And the more predictability you have to characters, typically, you need consistency. That's how you win games. I'd have a bias to put him in A because he's a cool character, but realistically, I think he's pretty bad. I don't know if he's C tier, but I think B is pretty appropriate. Multipol, once again, pretty good character. We're not evaluating these characters based on them with artifacts. Obviously, that's realistic to evaluate them, but I know early game players may not even have more than 5 or 6 or 7 artifacts. Not everyone has, level 30 plus artifacts late game like all of us do, perhaps. So, as useful as he could be in a niche scenario, I think that Multipol probably deserves A. But personally, I kind of want to put him in B. I'll put him in A for any Multipol lovers out there. Remember, this isn't really all that important. These are rare characters. Have fun with these. Kate is absolute dog shit. I would have to throw her in D. In no situation is she useful to build ever. Please use her as fodder. She's an awful character. Flaxen Leader, really good for GTA Ops. Honestly, a slight step up from Kate. I knew we weren't going to use D, but I just hate her character and her character in the game so much that she kind of just needs her own category down there. I'm going to have to put him probably top of C tier. He's got a cool design. Is he useful in PvP? No. Honestly, almost none of these in the A and below category should you use in PvP. But there's the rare characters. We're not going to rank the commons. That would be useless, okay? Now will be the meat and potatoes of the tier list, the elites. All right, elite heroes. A great way to preview these is your collection tab. If you guys didn't know about this, also the art is pretty darn cool. The only thing it doesn't show you is it shows you their abilities, I believe, where they are at. No, base level. I'm going to take that all back. At base level, which is a good way to evaluate characters, but remember, a lot of characters will get a notable bump at 4 or 6 or 8 or 10. So you really should evaluate the characters based on their potential of skill. For example, Doc at 10, a skill is pretty good, but a little bit better at 15, right? And the introduction of level 15 skills really, we could talk a whole video about what the best skills are to invest in, the best level 15 skills. That's not exactly what this is about, but we're going to talk about the highlights of what makes a character what tier. So take note, if you guys want to follow along with what I'm mentioning, I'm not going to spin to the character every single time to talk about them, but feel free to look up the abilities, and this is where you guys can find them if you didn't know. We're going to go back to the tier list really quick, and let's work on these elites. So I will drop all these guys down real quick, and we will carry on with our elite. And I should have maybe put them in release order, but I think with time, a lot of characters have fallen out of the meta, and I hate to just bash all the year 1 characters. I don't think that's very productive. Also, planning that, we possibly could get some really cool characters coming up that could break all these tier lists, like, ooh, that character, or, ooh, maybe that character, who knows, coming up. So, hopefully, build these characters, have fun with them, maybe play the character in the meta while you can, because who knows what updates will change. So this is just kind of currently where we're at. Once again, this is not gospel truth. This is my opinion, and I am kind of basing this tier list on PvP. That being said, I took a lot of opinions from people, and we should have most of those in the video. Agent Spider. I have been battled back and forth on Agent Spider. He is very good as an attacker, but most of his abilities are stun-based, and that is kind of his strength. That being said, he is rarely the character that is peak damage on your team. And in every team, damage is very important. For that reason, I can't put him in S, on top of the reason that the meta, unfortunately, is strictly based around Anissa reducing humans' damage, and he has that human tag. I really wanted to put him in B. The community would not let it happen, so he will rest happily in A, and I hope that you guys are okay with him here. Once again, if you guys have any changes to the tier list, not that, this is absolutely 100%, but let me know down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Alan, very good sustain, very good tank. I had him in A. People really fight me. They want him in S. I think he has incredible sustain. He never has damage that is notable. So once again, if your team is lacking damage and you are just getting a healing and sustaining team, he's probably great. If you're going for a high damage, high DPS, perhaps blitz team, he's not what your guys are going to want. As everything, this tier list is based on the normal settings that you see this character in. Usually I see him in a team with Shapesmith or Robot or Eve, and he's receiving a lot of healing on top of his healing, and it's pretty impressive. So his sustain is notable. I think he deserves S tier. Angstrom Levy in PvP is pretty unheard of. Sure, in Restricted Arena, he may have his situational use cases, and we're going to put most of the situational characters down here in C. I wish he was slightly better. Obviously, he's a big part of the Invincible universe and the Invincible comics and show. Unfortunately, in this game, just for PvP, he is not great. Anissa, with no surprise, Anissa is probably the top 3, maybe top 2 characters we will see here shortly in the video game for the one reason that she reduces humans' defense massively. The bigger you build her attack stat, the further she'll crush them down. If you have an over-leveled Anissa with her skills maxed out, she will absolutely melt through teams and help your team apply damage to those humans. So even in herself, she's probably not a peak damage character, although the damage is notable. Her ability to eject people from the battlefield is very effective, but her overall ability to help your team do damage is what makes her S tier. Adam Eve. Adam Eve is so good. She used to be very, very meta. I think that characters like this are obviously still very good. If you guys want to build them in the early game, that's great. But slowly, as we get more and more releases, these characters that are good kind of become just average as they get outshined by better options. It's not that they're bad, there's just better options. And for that, I'm going to have to put Eve in A tier. I think she's going to go under Agent Spider. As a healer, certainly she's better, but like I said, I kind of personally value attackers above everything else. I mean, you could have a full team of attackers if you want. I don't see the problem in that in a blitz team. Certainly a lot of, that comp will not work early game, but you can see plenty of that stuff late game. Definitely the use of a tank is super necessary, but honestly, I feel like you could get away with without having the support in a lot of teams. So we'll move on to Battle Beast. A very interesting attacker. He had a couple reworks. He was never meta. He was never super peak in damage. I was very tempted to put him in B, perhaps even A. I think he belongs in B for a few reasons. He's grounded. I know he doesn't have the human tag, but his damage just doesn't output. He has a lot of physical animation delays, and it keeps him from being very effective. I see him caught in stun loops and stun locks and constantly trying to hit airborne units out of the air, and he spends a lot of time just running around the battlefield and not doing a lot of damage. Unfortunately, that's just kind of the state of melee characters. Bulletproof. My goodness, is there a cult following for anyone? It's Bulletproof. He's had his reworks as well. He is pretty decent. He is definitely nowhere near the A tier, guys. I'm gonna have to unfortunately put him probably towards the end of B. I would have a hard time putting him above even Battle Beast. Once again, feel free to let me know what you guys think down below if you disagree. Cecil Stedman. This guy got a big rework. Obviously, he's fantastic in GTA Ops, but is he good in PvP? I think he's gotten notably better. Is he A tier? I don't think he's A tier. I'm pretty darn certain I'd like to put him in C. I know people will fight me. I'll put him in B for you guys. I will put him in B. I think that he is respectable with damage when his skills are up there, but it takes an awful lot of investment, I will say, which makes him less of an incentivized character. Most of these S and A tiers, they just work out of the box. They're pretty darn good. I guess, ironically, Eve's there. She's definitely not one. Not all of them, but most of them. Conquest. Conquest is a new character released with the hype of a very big, Season 3. And he got the stats to prove it. He is a defender with a huge attack buff from his skills. And that in himself, because he is one of the only defenders that does massive, massive damage and can continue to scale very well and synergizes with From World Beyond characters, he has to be S tier. I'm going to put him above Allen just because, once again, if you're on an even playing field without items, I think Conquest is very, very good. His level 10 skills are very, very good. The bleeding effect, 100% to puncture and immunity shield, and he increases his own attack based on his defense stat. Just a little too good. Darkwing 2, an interesting support. Certainly in the light of all the amazing supports we've had, he was never good, and he never will be good. I'm sorry, Darkwing 2 fans. He's going to have to be our first D tier category. Doc Seismic. Man, people are really torn on this. I think he's S tier. I don't know why until the late game, he seems to be very, very effective. Could be a lot of things there because most of the top players really are running Anissa, and a lot of people argue there's no humans that should be allowed in S tier because she is just so broken without a passive ability. I disagree. I think his 45%, is it 45%? Let me clarify before I say that. 45% at level 15 is an impeccable reduction to Viltrumite defenses, albeit he will probably fade with time. I think this is probably one of the last seasons or stints that he will be a S tier character, and to give Doc his due respects, I will leave him in the end of S tier. Come fight me in the comments. Donald, very new released attacker for GTA. We had a lot of hope for this guy that he'd be very good. Unfortunately, he suffers from a lot of selfish abilities. He doesn't really help his team. That being said, if you're building a GTA team, he's pretty good. There's certainly worse picks. He's going to go behind Cecil, but he's going to go in the B category. General Craig. General Craig, no surprise, new character, Viltrumite, and he's a support. And his greatest ability is he can summon someone at the beginning of the battle with a huge amount of his stats. And on top of that, he boosts your Viltrumite's attack, a considerable number. I believe like 20%. Let me check real quick on mine. It starts at 7, a mild number. 15 at 10, 20 at 15. When you're getting apples to apples comparisons, believe me, that is a substantial number, and Craig is going to have to be S tier. I don't think he's moving from S tier, especially when we're seeing other Viltrumites released. He is just hard to beat. Is he better than Allen? Allen fans, tell me what you think. I'm going to put him slightly above Allen. I don't really care either way there. Green Ghost as a support. Early game, I'm sure she was decent. When there were a few options, there's just better options now. Sure, she goes invisible. That's pretty helpful to get untargeted for a while, but she does not do damage. She does not help her team a tremendous amount. She doesn't have tons of healing or tons of damage, and you got to be good at something. You can't just be average at everything. And Omni-Man made quick work for her in the show, didn't he? So, unfortunately, I believe she's also going to join Angstrom in the C tier. Lizard League, very new, very hard for me to judge. I don't have them Omni Plus skilled up yet. Like I said, I try to take as much analytics and PvP information from other players. From what I've heard, from what I've seen, from my own experience, she's not great. She's not bad. She's very situational. She needs to be in the right team, but she's not nearly C tier. I don't think that she's that bad. I think she can output a good amount of damage. Original OG Yellow Invincible. He has faded with time. I used to think he's S or A tier. A lot of people have been fighting me to put him all the way as low as B tier, and I'd have to say, if he's going to be B tier, I'm putting him at the top. Now, in the early game, he's probably an A tier because of his invincibility. Late game, when your characters are very more apples to apples, similar levels, his skills are good, but his damage is not incredible, and he doesn't really have great team synergies. People that have team synergies and, KOs and tons of healing or tons of, support synergies with their team, they're going to tend to be ranked higher over time. It's so weird to see him under Agent Spider. This feels wrong to me, but this is what you guys voted, and I'm trying to give a happy medium between my personal preferences, bias, and experience, and what's probably accurate. Blue Suit Mark, especially after this last event, man, this dude has gotten popular. He is a fantastic counter to a very meta support Shapesmith these days. He has the ability to pretty much dash over and just KO people under, I believe, 20% health. His fourth ability, very good. He also will boost small amounts of your stats after he kills someone. So if he's a very pumped up, beefed up attacker on your team and he's getting kills every single time, he's buffing all your melee characters on your team. His struggle, once again, is his human tag. That being said, it seems that everyone likes him a little bit better than OG Mark, and he seems to perform a little bit better. I'm going to have to put him above Doc. Probably above... I'm going to put him behind just because I know the Allen fans are going to come at me in the comments. He's pretty darn good. We will see where he ends up, but for right now, I think that he's an S. I see a lot of top 100 people building him. Man, he is very, very good in PvP from what I've been seeing. All right. Another Lizard League member. We are going with King Lizard. I heard that he is slightly better, albeit I have not seen that from my personal experience, but people do seem to think that his skills and his synergies are slightly above Iguana. So we are going to go right below Donald. You know, these are probably, most of these are interchangeable. Don't take this order as, once again, gospel truth, but pretty darn close, I would imagine. Komodo, my goodness, this is one of those characters that is okay. He's pretty good out of the box, actually. I shouldn't say okay. He's pretty good out of the box, but he relies on some synergy. But honestly, out of the Lizard League characters, he's the one that can stand alone on his own pretty darn good. And his ability to literally not take any damage from crits at 15 is incredible. I think that we will see some new teams with him. I think the highest currently is a level 1400. Hopefully we see that more. I need to see more experience with him, but as of now, he seems to be a very strong character. I'm going to put him at the bottom of A, and, you know, this is subject to change. He's very new. The new characters are the ones that, you know, if they've been out longer, we have a better idea of how they perform and how they stand up, but we will need to see a little bit more test of time with Komodo. Lucan. Lucan was very hyped when he came out. He was very new when he came out. He is very bad when he came out, and to this day, he is still very bad. I would not be building Lucan ever. This is a food character. The Maulers. We have the Melee Mauler. As these, once again, were probably the only picks for criminal factions back in the day. They have not aged so well. Especially if we get some, like, alternate marks in the criminal faction and some better characters. The criminal faction... The problem is, like, there's not a lot of S and A tier characters to make these look even worse. They're not great, and they're going to get outshined very quickly. I would not waste your time building him. Obviously, our ranged guy is very good for GTA Ops, but he's not fantastic either in PvP. I'm going to have to put both the Maulers down there in C tier. Very, very situational. Probably not going to win you any battles. Monster Girl used to be good. Obviously came out with the game, very OG character. Her skills are just not holding up these days. I'm going to put her at the top of C tier. I think she's very, very good. I'm very tempted to put her in B tier. I think as we get more defenders, especially after Conquest and Komodo, it's just hard to put her any higher. I think that with time, like her and Lucan, they're just going to go down and down and down and really get outshined by better tank, better defenders, better support. All these characters are just, they were great at one time, but, you know, times have faded. Omni-Man got a bit of a glow up recently with the level 15 skills, albeit in his pairing as a Viltrumite damage boost with Craig, but he has a very inflated power level. On top of that, his attack is very good, but he's more useful in GTA Ops than PvP, but he's not bad. I'm tempted to put him here. I think people will demand he gets put in A. I see a lot of people running Omni-Man. I think he's probably a very good attacker, very based on crits. A lot of people rely on crits, synergize with crits. I think if you're running, you know, a crit character, perhaps Agent Spider with Omni-Man, you know, things like that are probably going to be very good pairings. So I feel okay putting him in the A tier. Powerplex, a new character, one of the best criminals, boosts technologists' damage. So people like Doc Seismic, people like robots, and any other technologists that we get, I guess both robots really. He's actually a pretty darn good attacker. I did not feel he was very strong. I got some of his skills up a little bit more. I have him in the 700s or 800s, and now he's doing some pretty serious damage. I like his knockback. He's got some incredible abilities. I'm going to have a hard time putting him in A tier, but I think that he's up here in B tier, pretty darn high. I'm going to put him right behind Invincible. Red Rush. Red Rush is one of my favorites. I have him in my main team right now. Actually, the reason I loved making this video is because I did a lot of research on characters on what I should be building, and I think that I'm going to switch my support out for one of the supports you're going to see on the top of the screen on the end of this video. He's very, very good, don't get me wrong. I think he used to be S tier, and he has just slowly slid away, not because he's bad, but because he's just not as good as some of the other supports. His strengths are a swap in the beginning of the round. You can just take someone out of the back line, stun them immediately. People like Agent Spider, for example, as good as he is, Red Rush will just swap him, like straight up right away. I need to put him here. I don't know why he was so high up there. And once again, the left to right orders aren't really as important. You can kind of shuffle these characters around any way you want. This is probably a little bit more accurate. I think that he's very good. He boosts critical damage, so your people like Universa and Omni-Man that are already doing crits are going to do even more damage. And he grants them a temporary invincibility, anyone on your team when they get low, which is very effective. It's like an extra cans lock ability. Other than that, though, he doesn't do damage. He's completely relying on stunning. He does have low cooldowns. What I love about Red Rush, in the beginning of the round, you get good value, right? You get a swap, a guaranteed stun. You're getting invincibility for a character and boosting crit damage, even if he dies out right away. If he lasts the fight, which, you know, he has a human tag, like we mentioned, he can get melted at the higher, you know, the late game. But if he lasts, he will get multiple stuns off and swaps, and it's pretty darn good. I have a hard time putting him below Agent Spider for that reason. Agent Spider obviously does more damage, but I think in terms of stuns, he's probably one of the best characters for stuns and swaps and synergy boosts with your team. OG Robot. Oh, gosh. He is very hard to rate. I swapped him out of my team very early. He is one of the best out-of-the-box character. Is he S tier? This really comes down to the fact that I want to double-check real quick, but yes. Okay. He has some fantastic abilities, and he does not have a human tag. Therefore, he's probably going to be S tier. I need to check the new robot as well. I do not believe new robot has... I need to refresh myself on the tags for him. The new robot has a human tag, which is interesting. But obviously, this robot seems to be based on just maybe his mech. It's not actually him, so he does not get the human tag. He's getting Teen Guardians Globe, Ranged, Leader, Technologist, Duality, and Grounded. So I can agree with people. He's probably S tier. He's very, very good at healing. His sustain is out of this world. And like I said, when you pair him with someone like Alan, that's a healing kind of sustain team, he does very well. I can't argue with that. I just am not a personal fan of him, but that doesn't mean he's not bad. New robot. He's an attacker for GDA. His synergies are way better than Donald's. I'm going to have to put him above Donald. I'm sorry, Donald lovers. I'm going to put him here. He is human, though. And on top of that, he just doesn't add up to some of these other attackers in terms of their abilities. He does have good synergies, but he seems like a supporting attacker, and he's not nearly as good of a supporting attacker as someone like Powerplex or Agent Spider. Russ Livingston. Russ Livingston is a very good character, only for one reason. One reason at all. He boosts invaders' damage by a ridiculous amount. And a lot of people are invaders. We have Anissa. We have Conquest. We have Universa. And probably some more coming, likely. So I think he's a very good character to future-proof, as well as he does boost your damage. Now, should he be in your main 5 is a tough question. He's certainly S tier at the late game. Is he going to be S tier for most of the game? And he has that human tag. I think he's pretty easy to destroy with an Anissa team. I just can't put him S tier. I know you guys are probably going to be a little upset, but I'm going to put him right above Red Rush. Overall, Red Rush does more, but the value he provides from that damage boost, remember, when we're comparing across like level 1000s, being able to boost someone's damage by 20 or 35% is super substantial. I mean, you're getting a major lead on the team. The puppy, Seance Dog, where do we put him? He's gone through some changes. I don't think anyone that I know personally has him super cranked up, and you're certainly never going to use him in a team. I think he got a small nerf. I love the puppy, but he is probably going to be B tier. Shapesmith. This has been the talk of the land for a while. He was very broken when he came out. Very broken when they added level 15 skills, and they actually had to dial him back, but he's still very good. His sustain is almost unbeatable. The only thing that may hold him back is that you need to invest in his skills, but when you get his skills up, he is impeccable, and he does definitely need to be on the same level as your other characters. He's not a character you can kind of get away with being a little bit lower. He will die, he will get wiped out quickly, but he does not have the human tag. His ability to heal your team is insane. He also pulls and retargets your attackers to specific targets, and his prioritization makes him S tier, well above all these characters. I'm going to put him all the way up here above Alan. I think he is just absolutely busted. This character, Shrinking Ray, almost not even worth talking about. She's good, you know, probably year 1, but after a couple months, I'm sure people found out. I think the highest, there's like 1 or 2 that it's above level 1000. She's a food character for GDA. build something else, Shapesmith, Donald even, Cecil, anyone else. I would not recommend building her at all. The Immortal. The Immortal is very good for one reason. He has immunity. He just says, I don't want to die. And his ult's pretty low cooldown. He can leave the battlefield multiple times. When he comes down, he pushes enemies away. He's pretty darn good, but there are much better defenders, and with time, he is sort of fading. Let's see where we decide to put him. He's going to have to probably be C tier or top of B tier, perhaps. I don't want to put him C tier because he's not awful. You're not going to have a GDA synergy because who's running GDA characters outside of Shapesmith? And people are really not running 2-3 teams where they have 2 or 3 GDA characters that often. I'm going to put him slightly above Seance Dog. This is a personal preference. I don't really know where to put him. You can put him higher up on the B tier if you guys like. Thula. Thula is an incredible character for GDA ops. PvP, not so much. She literally relies on someone dying to boost her attack stat. And, we don't have sacrificial lambs in this game in 5v5. So, other than Staff Mortal. But she's not going to get a boost from that. So, realistically, in the current meta, in the current PvP, Thula is just not really fantastic. There are better attackers that do more for their team. That being said, I think she's pretty darn good. She does do, some good damage. She has some pretty good bleeding effects. I can't put her too low, so I'm going to put her a little bit here in the middle on B tier. Titan. All right, Titan is very good. I never built him past epic 5 stars. But personally, I know that a lot of people love him. He does have some stuns. I believe he has confusion, if I'm not mistaken, but I know he has a stun. And the cooldowns are pretty darn low. That being said, once again, outshined by a lot of defenders, I'm going to have to say yes. I'm going to have to put him slightly above the GDA attackers, but slightly below Thula and Cecil, I think. Universa, to no one's surprise, this character has been the best in the game for a lot of reasons, the biggest being that she can hit multiple people at once. With this, I guess, the restriction of 5. So if you had a team with Craig and he summons an extra, one of those people is not receiving crits, interestingly enough. But she's still extremely S tier. I believe it's 70 or 75% of her damage will bounce to each of the enemies. More or less gears infinite, so once you get her crit, it's almost guaranteed one day her crit will be 100%, right? And with some help from other teammates, it can pretty much just right off the bat be 100%. And, oh my gosh, does she do lots of damage. I'm going to have to put her in undeniable S tier. Is she above Anissa? Yes. Is she above everyone else? I think that this is a pretty fair ranking. I think if you don't have Universa in your team, that's totally okay. Totally fine. You don't have to build her. But a lot of people already have her built for something else. And on top of that, she does her job very well. She's ranged. She's fast at attacking. And with the level 15 skills, she now pushes people away when they get close to her, which is so effective. And I will say a good distance. Like, she throws them across the battlefield pretty much and is just beaming attacks. And that gives people like Anissa a great, time to fly through people or do whatever other abilities, and people can get time to get their abilities off. She's just delaying the fight, doing tons of damage, hitting all the opponents. Her ult is very, very good. And it hits all enemies guaranteed. There's a lot of ults in here that are character target specific. For example, if your Anissa ejects someone and your Conquest was going to ult them, he's going to ult nothing. And a lot of times, ults can get canceled. Hers is one of those, very consistent hits, usually, just like Shapesmith. And she just can't be the top S tier. I don't know how we could get any better than Universa. I'm sure they will maybe top it with Thrag, or someone coming soon, maybe Tech Jacket. I hope that we mix the meta up, but I don't mind it. I think she's a really fun attacker, but it is very frustrating that we are now having to build 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Every single character for From World Beyond seems to be pretty meta, as some of them are slowly dwindling, but certainly right here at the top, we have 5, right? War Woman. War Woman got a rework more than once since her release, and she is still D tier. Don't look at her, don't think about her, use her as food. I think that is a pretty darn good list. Obviously, this is my opinions. I hope we did a good job with the rare characters. The commons are fodder. You can't build them. Unfortunately, there's not a way to build them for fun. If you guys want to have fun with the characters, you really enjoy, Green Ghost or Monster Girl's your favorite character, go crazy. There's tons of people that build these characters and do really well. Just be careful to read their synergies, their skills, what they work with well, and plan your team accordingly. If you just kind of throw random characters in there, you're not really going to have an easy time beating opponents. On top of that, as you guys can see I put it in the top right, that way, to my right, you do 20% more damage to certain factions, right? So by nature, Earth's defenders are going to be very good because if you can squeeze some in there because they do extra damage to From World Beyond, which helps people like Blue Suit Mark doing tons of damage and Omni-Man. GDA, who are you good at? Beating criminals. There's not a lot of criminals that are A and S tier, right? So you're not really going to have as easy of a time with GDA. And if you build a GDA team from World Beyond characters, which are already busted, are going to, make your life really miserable. So I would just be careful what you build. There's definitely no rights and wrongs. Have fun. But I hope this was educational for you guys. I hope you guys just at least can get on the right track with building some characters. If your character team is, you have 3 or 4 from the A and S tier, you guys are doing just fine. If you guys have everything from the C and D tier and you're losing battles, you know why. And with that, we will do some more videos. I can't wait to make some more content for you guys. Thanks for sticking along for the long video. We will try to cut the next ones a little bit short, but I wanted to give a really in-depth, thorough guide from my opinions, the skills that make the characters exceptional, and help you guys kind of direct your team building to be, future-proofed and effective for you guys. Have a great one. I will see you guys next time. Peace.